inflation everywhere and at all times is a monetary policy issue. So they're passing this bill that has a whole lot of spending in it and a whole bunch of tax increases. And they're telling you that this is going to fix inflation. Joe Biden a year ago, remember, he was going, reduce inflation. Reduce inflation. That's what he was saying about a $3, and some would say actually more like $5 trillion. They're always playing games with this. What's mandatory spending? What's discretionary spending? Because they don't want to tell you what they're really doing. They're trying to hide it from you. And if we had a media that was honest, it would be a lot easier. But the media runs cover for this. And Joe Manchin knows that. Joe Manchin knows the second that he switches over and does Chuck Schumer's bidding, 95% of the news media is going to be finding ways to support his point of view, back him up, tell him how great he is, etc. I want to talk about the Build Back Better-ish bill that they want to pass here. They want to talk about this, and we should. They want to pass this. What's going on here? Harris Faulkner did a good interview with Joe Manchin right before I came on air with you at noon Eastern time. And there's some important parts of this, right? Is it raising taxes on people who earn less than $400,000? Is it going to combat inflation? And here is how some of this went when Joe Manchin was asked about it.
Are you saying that Mitch McConnell and others in the Senate are wrong about those numbers and that Americans' taxes are not going to go up beyond that point?
Totally, absolutely wrong. Totally wrong. And here's the thing. They're looking at it through political lenses. Look at it through the American lens.
I'm just asking questions.
I'm just answering questions.
Okay.
I want to answer these questions because what you're asking and the facts you have are completely wrong.
Telling her she's wrong. Now, she pushed back, Harris pushed back against this and pointed out that groups that Democrats, including Manchin, in the past have turned to and said, see, look at our analysis on this issue, right? See, look at what they say the impact of this will be. And now they're saying, oh, they're just wrong. They've got it wrong. What is more likely? Let's just start from this perspective, because you can always do the, well, my experts say, and their experts say, and my experts say. What is more likely? At this point, with Democrats heading into an election that will be more of a slapdown for them than anything we've seen in a midterm since 2010, so in a decade at least, what's more likely? That all of a sudden Joe Manchin found some great middle ground with Democrats that's just going to only raise taxes on the rich and corporations, and it's going to make energy cheaper, and, you know, it's going to be just lollipops and fairy dust and unicorns and rivers of chocolate and great things for, you know, it's Fantasyland stuff, right? Remember Candyland, the board game? I used to play that when I was a little kid. Really little kid, but, you know, that was a board game. But that's what's going to happen. It's going to be amazing, right? This bill's doing all these great things. No downside. You always know they're lying to you when they negate that there is any trade-off. This is a good rule of thumb. I have a few rules of thumb in politics. One thing is that anytime anyone tells you that they're doing it, like Nancy Pelosi loves to say, for the children. Anytime she brings the children into it, trust me, it's not about helping kids. Usually it's about stealing from productive adults, using government force to spend money on things that make Nancy Pelosi and her constituents feel good and important. Anytime they say it's for the children, you should be concerned about it. But also, anytime they refuse to admit that there's a trade-off, it's just all good things. It's just all good things. And if you don't see that, you're a bigot. I mean, an example, illegal immigration. How is it that I know the Democrats, and there are so many things, how is it that I know the Democrats are lying to you about illegal immigration? Well, just think about it this way. Whenever you ask them, hey, shouldn't we limit illegal immigration to the country because aren't there some downsides, resource drains, problems with additional law enforcement concerns, especially with the drug trafficking and MS-13, et cetera? They go, no, that's not true. That's not true. It makes us all richer and wealthier, and it increases GDP, although they don't talk about GDP per capita. They just talk about net GDP. It increases GDP. Meanwhile, in New York and D.C., the mayors of those respective cities are saying, Yeah, the illegal immigrants are actually a big drain on resources here. We need federal government money. Now, there's some cynicism in that too, but point is they have to admit that there is a trade-off. It would be honest if Democrats said, we need to be an open borders country because we think that's a moral thing, because the working class in America is where the illegal immigrants are going to go live, so they're not going to live in Nancy Pelosi's backyard. They're not going to live in Nancy Pelosi's street. And she gets to feel good about herself, and the rich libs who support her and who watch CNN and subscribe to the Washington Post, they get to feel good about themselves. And yeah, sure, there's going to be some financial trade-off for the country. At least that would be an honest way to frame it. Same thing can be applied here to the way Joe Manchin talks about this Manchin-Schumer bill. First of all, the name Schumer is attached to it. So that's what we would call in the poker world a tell. Not that I know anything about poker. I do not gamble, and I know nothing about it, although that may change at some point. But I do watch movies, and sometimes they talk about these things. So Manchin is saying that this is just going to combat inflation, only raise taxes on the rich people and the corporations, and is not some boondoggle of spending at a time of high inflation for the green energy lobby, essentially, and the green energy apparatus in this country. That's just not true. Right? There's no way. It's not possible. It is not possible for this bill to just be the things that Joe Manchin says. So he's trying to sell it. He's in salesman mode. The reality is that they're calling it the, inflation reduction bill because they know that, if anything, people are looking at what the federal government has done recently and what it did under Biden, spending the $2 trillion right out of the gate. And when he took office, and Senate Democrats, or congressional Democrats across the board pushing that without any Republican support, people understand, hold on, we're in a time of high inflation, which has come from government monetary policy, the government running up debt, the government printing of money and spending of money. And this is a problem because inflation everywhere and at all times is a monetary policy issue. So they're passing this bill that has a whole lot of spending in it and a whole bunch of tax increases. And they're telling you that this is going to fix inflation. Joe Biden a year ago, remember, he was going, reduce inflation. Reduce inflation. That's what he was saying about a $3, and some would say actually more like $5 trillion. They're always playing games with this. What's mandatory spending? What's discretionary spending? Because they don't want to tell you what they're really doing. They're trying to hide it from you. And if we had a media that was honest, it would be a lot easier. But the media runs cover for this. And Joe Manchin knows that. Joe Manchin knows the second that he switches over and does Chuck Schumer's bidding, 95% of the news media is going to be finding ways to support his point of view, back him up, tell him how great he is, etc. So that's where we are. They're clearly not being honest with you. And Manchin wasn't honest when he said weeks ago that he wouldn't do any of this Green New Deal spending stuff. It's just going to be a whole bunch of taxpayer-funded giveaways to companies that make solar and wind energy inefficiently and at a very high cost that won't change the energy grid in any meaningful way, but they're important constituencies for Democrats. And it also makes the Democrat base feel good about themselves because the planet won't melt or whatever because of CO2. So that's really what this is. So you have to know that they're being dishonest with you. Now, people are saying that there are some hurdles that this will face, that this bill, which is, according to Democrats, $433 billion of spending, $739 billion in tax revenue, including a whole lot of extra money for the IRS to audit you. Yeah, that's right. Democrats like to sick the IRS on people. So that's all a part of this now. They do have to look at Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona to see if she will go along with this. I think I can cut to the chase here. We can skip to the end. She will go along with this, in my opinion. That is my prediction. I do not think that Kyrsten Sinema will be the lone Democrat senator holding the line against this just self-defeat. It's good politically for Democrats because it feeds their lunatic base what they want, and it spreads money around, and money is power, and Democrats want to wield it while they have it, and I get that. But in terms of what's actually good for the American people and the economy, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. And the notion that it will reduce inflation. No serious person who looks at the numbers and understands politics in America saying, yeah, this is going to really reduce inflation. It's not going to do anything on inflation. In fact, there's an analysis that says that statistically it's going to have an effect of 0 on inflation. So I think Sinema goes along with this. And remember, at the beginning, I was surprised. I thought they were going to get Manchin to cave a lot earlier. You know, if you go back and listen to, I think when Clay and I were talking about this, gosh, I can't remember it's all blurring together now. But whenever it was that they were first pushing, was it about a year ago they're pushing Manchin on that? No, it was more like last fall. Anyway, I remember thinking Manchin's going to cave. Manchin's going to cave. And then it seemed like he didn't. And I said, wow, saving the Democrats from themselves with this crazy spending. But, well, he ended up caving just a little bit less. Just for a little bit less. Sinema is going to cave, or she's going to go along with this. It's not even really fair to say she's caving, I think, because she hasn't opposed it. They say that she's reading the bill. There's some stuff about parliamentary process, the Byrd rule. They're going to be talking about poison pill amendments and stuff that, 0.001% of the American people know about and should know about, quite honestly, because you get really deep into the parliamentary games that are played in the Senate. Isn't it funny? We call them parliamentary games, but of course it's a Senate, not a parliament, but whatever. None of that's going to stop this. Democrats are going to get this thing through. That is how I see this going. I would be completely shocked. Yeah, there could be some COVID case that takes one senator offline for voting for a few days or something. They're going to get this thing through. Why? Because their power is at stake. You want to see Democrats be motivated? Democrats who are in elected office, when they are facing the wrath of the people that they have done a bad job representing in government, that's when all of a sudden they get really mobilized. And that's what we're seeing right now.